Let's get into today's top stories and a dramatic development today at the latest judicial inquiry into Kathleen Folbig's 2003 convictions for killing her 4 children. The Director of Public Prosecutions has accepted new evidence points to the possibility of reasonable doubt. Folbig is serving a 25-year sentence, but the DPP's submission could result in her walking free from prison.
That on the whole of the body of evidence before this inquiry, there is a reasonable doubt as to Ms Folbig's guilt.
I believe that Kathleen should be paroled today, pending next steps.
A big funding boost from the federal government to ensure Tasmania secures its own AFL team. A new stadium was the final hurdle set by the AFL, and the PM's expected to travel to Hobart this weekend to pledge $240 million for the Macquarie Point Arena project. Critics say the money could be better spent elsewhere, but the deal's all but done.
By having a centre that can bring jobs and events to Tasmania, then that would be a positive thing.
And a nightmare journey for a Victorian man who fell asleep in a cab on the way home from Melbourne Airport. In a now deleted TikTok video, he claimed he awoke to a $468 fare for a 75-kilometre journey, which usually costs around $160. After some back and forth with the cabbie, the bloke paid the fare with a final surcharge of $18.72, adding insult to injury. Whoa, that's outrageous. But Sam, you can top that.
I can talk. Once I got a cab ride, and it was like $720 from Gunnedah to Dubbo, which is one of the classic routes you always want to go.
That's a Rex flight, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, the Rex flight would have been $32 probably. No, we had a hire car and the hire car broke down and they were like, get a cab, we'll pay you back. And then, so the cab driver thought it was crazy. And then there's no rush. It's a shame this guy was sleeping because, like, when you're watching that meter go up by that, it's like uncharted territory. Once it gets above $200, you're like, no one's ever seen this before.
Yeah, it's like driving when it's below the E.
Oh,
it's
exactly.
Right. Yes.
Do
the numbers even go beyond 200?
But they go up because I paid it on my credit card, and it was real.
Did you get paid back though? Because that's the crucial part of the exchange.
They did pay me back, yes.
Oh, so you were gambling with someone else's money.
Yeah, I was having the best time.
No,
I think over 500, you've got to do a spew in there just to make it worth it. That's too much cash. I've got to get my value.
The privilege, that's it.
So this guy was below the spew limit.
Yeah,
I think that's
Only
a lot.
just.
For
Only just. Aussie celebrities Jess Malboy and Maria Thattil are joining forces with Cody Simpson this year to stand up against street harassment. They're part of a global campaign trying to stamp out everything from catcalling to sexual comments and unwanted touching. A recent study found 78% of Australian women have experienced some form of street harassment in their lives. And joining us now is pop star turned swim star Cody Simpson. Cody, why did you decide to get involved in this?
L'Oreal Paris asked me to be involved in it. When they first sort of presented with me all the statistics and everything, I sort of felt compelled, as I felt like I had a lot of women in my life that, could directly benefit from me, standing up and trying to raise my voice and raise awareness for something as important as this, but also, not spoken about enough. So it was a good opportunity to get involved. Your
little sister is Ali Simpson. Has she ever encountered this kind of catcalling on the street before?
Well, I think many women have. Actually, 78% of women, studies show, have, and I'm sure you guys have all seen it. And being out in public and stuff is something that I think we all come across far too often, but sometimes do nothing about. I have a lot of women in my life, such as my sister, my girlfriend, my mom, that all have sort of experienced things like this at some point. There can be things that and boundaries that I think are crossed all the time that we don't realise can sort of make an impact negatively on people's lives. And I think, especially as men, most of the perpetrators of this kind of stuff are men. We need to do our part to be able to know the difference and be as respectful as we can in these kind of situations. And also, if we see other people doing it, to be able to stick up and stand up and say something.
Cody, do you still have high hopes of heading to the Paris Olympics next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here at the pool right now. I'm here twice a day training. So, we're just trying to make those little improvements every day. And I'm sort of 3 years into this 4-year journey of mine in the pool and seem to be improving all the time. So looking to have a good crack next year.
Well, you're doing great things everywhere. We'd love to hear some new music from you. When can we expect that?
That'll be happening as soon as I'm done swimming, mate. Absolutely. My plan is to jump straight back on the guitar once I have the time. But I'm writing songs all the time, so it won't be long.
Did you like how unimpressed Nick was? He's like, oh, yeah, you're training for the Olympics, but where's the music coming?
The song?
Yeah. Give me some time, mate. I'll get it all done eventually.
Cody Simpson, you've got to get back to that pool, but thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
When are you going to write a song, Cody?
Yeah.
When are you writing a song,
Get in the pool and swim some laps.
Man, just one thing at a time, please. That's a lot of pressure you're putting on me.
More big claims from Prince Harry in his phone hacking case against Rupert Murdoch's News UK media company. The Duke of Sussex has testified that the Queen was ready to take Murdoch on, but her plans were thwarted by the then Prince Charles. Harry also claims Prince William got a secret payoff in 2020 over a previously undisclosed phone hacking case. And a French art museum is making people strip naked to visit its latest exhibition entitled The Body tomorrow. Patrons will have to take off all their clothes. Curators say it's about making visitors focus on their perceptions of themselves and to see how bodies interact with other bodies. Yeah. Guests will be able to discuss the 90-minute experience over a drink afterwards.
Oh, no. Would you go to it?
Yeah, I'd do it.
I don't think I'm that liberated.
I'd be embarrassed.
Personally, I don't feel comfortable doing something like that. I just, especially with lots of other people around.
I guess there's a few people that it would appeal to, but I'm not sure it'd be my cup of tea.
Shouldn't the drink come before the disrobing to kind of get people in the mood?
Yeah, I'd be worried about the Mona Lisa. I was dared to tell. I was dared to say that joke. Okay, I'm better than that.
The Mona Lisa is very small.
Would you do it?
Yeah, that got weirdly personal.
No, it is very small.
Well, then maybe it'd be good for your self-confidence to stand next to.
No, not good for me.
Oh, okay.
If I'm nude in there, they'd go, God, the statue of David's blown out.
So would you guys do it? Would you do it?
Well, he totally would, though.
Okay, well, he definitely.
He's quiet, that's all right.
He's quiet, but he wants to. We can tell that he wants to.
Time for more of today's top stories. And 4 Labor backbenchers are demanding a substantial increase to JobSeeker and youth allowance payments in next month's budget. They've broken ranks, adding their names to an open letter that calls on the PM to stop leaving people with the least behind. The Treasurer says any cost of living relief in the budget will prioritise the most vulnerable.
I recognise that it is tough to live on the JobSeeker payment, and that's why we want to move as many people as we can off that payment and into good, secure, well-paid jobs.
There is some good news on the economic front. Inflation has fallen from 7.8% to 7% across the 12 months to March. And while the cost of living rose 1.4% in the March quarter, that's the smallest quarterly rise in more than a year. Some analysts say that should be good enough for the RBA to consider keeping rates on hold next week. And while Aussies can see some relief ahead from cost of living pressures, it's a very different story in the UK. The Bank of England's chief economist claims workers are adding to the nation's economic woes by demanding pay rises. Hugh Pills says that along with businesses putting up prices, that's caused prices to rise even further.
Somehow in the UK, someone needs to accept that they're worse off and stop trying to maintain their real spending power by bidding up prices, whether higher wages or passing the energy costs to other customers.
He must be fun at parties. How do you think that's going to go down?
Not well. Well, depends who he's having parties with.
That's true.
I suspect he's not having parties with the people that...
That's true.
Yeah.
He's not at a backpackers.
No.
Well, overnight, in a move that absolutely nobody, well, everybody saw coming, US President Joe Biden told the world he's putting up his hand for a second term in the White House. But does he have it in him?
According to US President Joe Biden,
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word: freedom.
That's the message from his new campaign launch video announcing his intention to run in 2024.
Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. That's why I'm running for re-election.
He's framing it as a battle for the soul of America against, quote, MAGA extremist Republicans.
It's time to finish the job. Finish the job.
Biden's hoping his record on healthcare, low unemployment levels and infrastructure investment will get him the chocolates. But there's a wrinkly old elephant in the room.
A lot of folks right now are talking about age.
Grandpa Joe is 80. If he were to win in 2024, he'd be 82 at his inauguration and 86 at the end of his second term, which puts him in Monty Burns territory. Excellent.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to... Anyway.
The White House is backing its man.
When it comes to age, it's the same thing that we heard in 2020. And if you look at what the president has done this past 2 years, he's been able to deliver.
But survey says... With a weekend NBC News poll revealing 70% of Americans and just over half of Democrats reckon Joe shouldn't run again, with his age a major factor.
We're not making this stuff up. This is real.
I'm excited to have him run again.
I don't think he needs to run. I think he's way too old. I think there needs to be an age limit.
As long as he has that drive and that will, absolutely.
Thank you.
So will America vote its first octogenarian into the Oval Office? And, should they?
America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to put him...
Joining us now from Washington is Steve Clemons. Steve, it's good to see you. Throughout his presidency, Biden has been under fire for a number of gaffes and missteps and blunders. Put aside his age for a moment, what do people in Washington say about his capabilities to run the country?
Well, look, I think Joe Biden basically is a mostly liked guy. They see him as relatively competent. He's done some good things. They don't see him as a bundle of energy. But it's very, very hard to separate the age issue from Joe Biden. He's just very different than when he was vice president or senator. You know, he moves more slowly. He's a bit more rigid. But people still like him.
Will the Democrats dare to nominate anybody else other than Joe, or does he have a free run because he's the current big cheese?
He's the big cheese. He's got a free run if he wants it. No one's really going to, challenge him. You've got Robert F. Kennedy out there, but nobody takes Robert F. Kennedy very seriously. So it's Joe Biden's if he wants it.
I love that you just ran with big cheese like that, Steve. That was wonderful. Well done. This sets up. I mean, Trump is now, at the moment, ahead of DeSantis. So he's currently the guy on the Republican side. A long way to go. But this could be a rematch, a Biden-Trump rematch, except roles reversed, right? Like, Trump was the incumbent.
This is a great TV. Yeah, this is a great TV sequel. I don't know if down in Australia you saw the film with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon, Grumpy Old Men. But that's what this is like, getting back to be as a replay of what we saw, basically just a few years ago as two grumpy old white guys, who are, Donald Trump, 76, Joe Biden is 80. This is the oldest rematch we have seen. So, I mean, people will love it. Get your popcorn.
Well, if the Republicans don't end up siding with Trump and Trump doesn't end up there, who can take on old man Joe? Could it be Tucker Carlson? Because I know he's looking for a job. Could he throw his hand in the ring?
Oh, don't laugh. It could happen. I mean, Tucker Carlson has a huge following. Remember, Donald Trump started out as a TV star, saying you're fired. Tucker Carlson may have been fired, but he's got a big, following. But look, there are serious people like Senator Tim Scott, Nikki Haley and others who were not there leading the way or trying to lead the way on January 6th. If you have other challengers to Joe Biden, if they were to come up and somehow win the GOP candidacy, which is a very, very big if, there are other people that are less toxic than Donald Trump who would be a big challenge to Joe Biden.
With Joe Biden's age, president in his 80s, what do you hope to be doing when you're 80, Steve?
I'm going to be there running the Sydney Marathon in my 80s. So that's my gig.
Great. See you next week, Steve. Thank you very much for your time, mate. Always good to speak.
You can train with Nick. You've got a marathon coming up, haven't you?
I've pushed it to when I'm 80, I think.
Thanks, Steve.